You know, a lockdown is supposed to keep you safe, to keep the bad stuff out. But what happens when the danger is already inside with you? That's what we're looking at today. We're gonna dive into 3 true stories where the very thing meant to protect people becomes a trap. I mean, that's a pretty terrifying question, right? It just completely flips our whole idea of security on its head. So, we all know what a lockdown is, right? It's a pretty standard procedure. But here's the thing. It's all based on one huge assumption, that the danger is outside and you're sealed away from it. Well, the stories we're about to get into, they tear that assumption apart in some of the most chilling ways you can imagine. All right, let's kick things off. Our first story starts in a place that you'd think is the very definition of routine and safety, a high school. And this whole story really hinges on one tiny detail. You've got 2 teenagers down in a basement classroom. They call it the chamber. And the key thing is there are no intercoms down there. They are completely cut off from any school-wide announcements. And that one little fact, it's what sets this whole terrifying thing in motion.
So when they hear there's a lockdown happening, what do you think they do? They think it's a game, a perfect chance to sneak around the empty school. But that idea of a fun little prank, it just slams right into a very stark reality. The lights are all out, the hallways are pitch black, and they realize pretty fast, oh no, this isn't a drill.
And that's when they see him. It's not a teacher, it's not a security guard, it's just this figure emerging from the shadows. Someone who absolutely 100% does not belong there. Yeah, their little adventure, officially over. So they do the only thing they can think of, run and hide. They dive into the darkness of the basement bathroom, just praying he didn't see them. But the silence in there is deafening. You know, it's so quiet they can hear every single drip from the faucet, every single breath they're desperately trying to hold in. And then their absolute worst fear comes true. They hear the bathroom door creak open and then shut. They hear footsteps walking over to their stall. And then just heavy breathing right on the other side of that thin, flimsy metal door. Oh yeah, he knows they're in there. It's just pure panic. They have to make a break for it. They whisper, "Go, go, go." And it's this frantic, desperate scramble. They're crawling under the stall walls from one to the next, just as the guy starts banging on the door they were just behind. They manage to scramble at the other side and just bolt for a classroom door. But even after they slam and lock the door, it's not over. Not even close. The man's face appears in the little window on the door. He starts rattling the doorknob, trying to get in, and then he just starts banging on the door, furious. All they can do is sit there in total silence, hearts hammering in their chests, until, finally, he gives up and walks away. Okay, so for our next story, we're gonna switch things up. We're shifting the perspective from the people being hunted to the rescuer. In this case, a police officer who's responding to a call at a middle school. So the officer shows up, and right away he sees all the ingredients for a total nightmare scenario. There's a suspicious guy, a plain white van, and a back door to the school has been left wide open. He knows he's walking into a situation that has already gone very, very wrong. He heads inside and finds himself in a massive locker room, and it is pitch black. Over the low hum of the ventilation system, all he can hear are these weird, unsettling noises, faint scratching sounds, little dings against the metal locker doors, sounds that just should not be there. He's totally alone, and he knows that whatever's making that noise is in the dark with him. So finally, to break the tension, he just shouts into the darkness, "Police!" And the sound that comes back, it's not at all what he was expecting. It's not an attacker, it's not a threat. It's a muffled scream for help. That sound leads him to one specific locker. And when he gets it open, inside, he finds a kid, a 12-year-old boy trapped. It turns out all that scratching and banging, that wasn't the intruder. It was the victim trying to get out. And in the officer's own words, he said he felt sick in my stomach. I mean, can you imagine that moment of realization that you're looking at a child who was overpowered and shoved in a locker by a man who is probably still in the building? It's just a kind of horror that really sticks with you. All right, for our last story, the setting gets a lot smaller. We're going from the huge, sprawling hallways of a school down to the very intimate, closed-in space of a single hotel room. So you've got this woman, she's traveling by herself, and her night gets interrupted by this really strange alarm. There's a flashing light, a looped message. This is a lockdown. She's never even heard of a hotel having a lockdown. So at first, she's not really scared. She's just kind of thinking, well, this is weird. But then her room phone rings. It's the front desk, and the person on the other end sounds really concerned, urgent. And they tell her that somebody was in the room with her and she needed to get out immediately. The message is just terrifyingly clear. The threat isn't outside. The lockdown was called because of someone already in her room.
Okay, so her heart is just pounding out of her chest, right? She starts scanning the room. She checks under the bed. Nothing. She looks in the bathroom. Empty. Everything seems totally normal until her eyes land on the closet. You know, one of those sliding wooden doors? And it's open. Just a tiny crack.
And looking through that tiny crack, she sees a face. A person's face just staring back at her from the darkness inside the closet. And in that split second, as her brain is trying to process what she's seeing, the door just slides shut. The person who'd been in her room watching her, probably for over an hour, is suddenly hidden again. But they're still there. She just runs, screaming. Wow. So there you have it. 3 stories, 3 lockdowns. And every single one of them shows how the places we think of as our safe spaces can instantly become the most dangerous places on Earth. And what's interesting is how each story plays out a little differently. You know, in the high school, the kids saw the danger and they got away. In the middle school, the victim was actually captured and needed to be rescued. And then in the hotel, the woman had no idea. She was completely unaware she was being watched until she got that warning call. It's just 3 different versions of the exact same terrifying paradox. And all of this really leaves us with one last kind of lingering thought. These stories are a chilling reminder that the scariest threats are often the ones you can't see, hidden away in the very places you feel the most secure. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How sure are you that you're alone right now?